Okay, we'll get going here. Thank you again for coming. I'm Ketan Gilani. I'm the lead PM on the Azure Log Analytics. Just to give you a little bit of background on myself as well as the product as we started with is I worked with System Center a lot before, so I'm familiar with kind of the System Center infrastructure, the IT operations space quite a bit. And then basically I started working on part of this thing I started working on was Application Insights. How many of you are familiar with Application Insights? Okay, quite a few. Very good. As we started growing Application Insights, we started getting issues into the scaling of the infrastructure that we had. At that time, I started working on, have you heard the name Kusto so far? Other than what I had in my survey? Okay, some of you did. It was a log analytics platform at Microsoft we just started at that time. The log analytics platform at Microsoft we started at that time, and we basically had Application Insights. We also took Application Insights to start working on top of the log analytics platform at Microsoft. The platform at Microsoft is widely successful. I was privileged to the success that we have gone through over the last 2 years, almost last 2 years. And basically then we launched Application Insights Analytics about a year ago, which is based on top of that platform. And then earlier this year, basically we decided the same to go over saying, hey, let's provide the same powerful capabilities to our external customers on the log analytics. So that's how kind of the journey started with log analytics platform here. And that's how it's been my journey also throughout this product as we go through it. So I'm pretty passionate about this space, pretty passionate about what we have done within Microsoft. And I want to take the same passion and same kind of viral adoption, community adoption to our external community, external customers too. So, and to start with, basically, we think about Azure from a perspective of when we think about management, we think about everything is built into Azure. Security and management is built into the Azure. And you look at this full stack of, and I'll show you where kind of the log analytics fits in here also, full stack of the cloud management capabilities in here. And I think we kind of covered overall throughout this conference the secure, the protect, the configure, govern, and of course the monitor space. And in the monitor space today, we will actually dig into more of the log analytics space. And if you look at our growth in terms of the log analytics, we have seen tremendous growth in terms of the data we ingest. This is our external platform that we ingest the data. We have seen tremendous growth over the last year in terms of the amount of data we ingest. So we continue to see people getting value out of that product in there. And when you start looking at from a holistic standpoint, where kind of the monitoring kind of the fits in the places, basically you have Application Insights, Log Analytics, and the Azure Monitor kind of sitting there right in the middle to provide you the different aspects of the services that are running in Azure to see whether it's applications, whether it's infrastructure, whether you're getting logs from OS logs, virtual machines, or networking logs, right? All of that is ingested into the log analytics platform. And then we have insights coming from Application Insights, or it could be from monitoring insights that are out there that you can correlate and generate rich insights on top of your data. And it's only possible to do that once we have a platform like log analytics platform that we have today. If you look at some of the ecosystem around the space from a log analytics perspective, come on. The three main aspects of, if you think about from a log analytics perspective, when I think about it, is what actually kind of drew people towards within Microsoft as well as now outside Microsoft in Application Insights, and we are seeing the same kind of adoption in Log Analytics V2 with that launch we did recently. It's really this interactiveness of expressiveness of the query language, a very, very powerful query language, which is simple yet very powerful. The reason I say simple is it's quote unquote SQL-like, not exactly SQL-like, but it has relational constructs in there. But at the same time, it also adopts the piping structure that most of the log vendors provide, which is very simple to think of in terms of when you think about your data, you start thinking about from a perspective of, hey, here's my data set, big data set, pipe it, and then you filter it, aggregate it, pipe it again, maybe filter it, aggregate again. So basically, if you start thinking about from that perspective and narrowing your query, basically thinking about the query makes it much more simpler. Versus when you think about query from a SQL perspective, especially from a big data space, you have to, when you write a SQL statement, you write about like, okay, I have to think about the whole aspect of what you're trying to do. And this is what actually people started with the query language here, and everybody's first question was, why not SQL? And as soon as they start using it, oh, it's much better than SQL, right? But it has the constructs that are there, helps you kind of understand its relational constructs tied in with kind of the piping constructs, helps you very much. And then we also have built-in kind of smart analytics also. You will see some of the functions that we have that we started building into the language itself. For example, auto-cluster or div patterns, where we started to do some of the machine learning stuff also within the time series analysis functions. I'll show you some of those where we started putting that stuff in the language to make it even more powerful. And we continue to have the flexible integrations that we have today with all the solutions and the ecosystem, as you can see here, from an ingestion standpoint, exploration standpoint, and the solutions. The full ecosystem is still there with all that flexible integrations is there. And this ecosystem becomes a very, very powerful as we go through when we think about from an Azure perspective, right? When you think about other log analytics space that you may have, it will not have the same set of rich ecosystem that Azure will provide overall for your management. In this case, we have rich set of solutions that are there that provides you insights, security and audit solutions there, wire data, network performance, anti-malware, all of that built on top of log analytics. At the same time, if you look at the different sources that we can ingest data from, it's, of course, your monitoring agents that we have, whether it's Linux or Windows, whether it's System Center on-premise or any other on-premise Windows or Linux machines. And then you also provide rich set of exploration experiences. You have the Azure portal, you have the analytics portal that's there, and this is something that some of this will be new for you guys, so you should still look at that. And then, of course, we have Service Map, Azure monitoring for all your exploration needs there. And then we have how you get your data out also. So you have Access APIs, you can export to Power BI, you can also have Application Insights connector, so different ways, or export to blob storage, different ways you can get your data out. So very powerful, rich set of ecosystem that's out there. How do we get there? So that's the other aspects, right? We were at the log analytics platform that was there existing, and then we wanted to get to this log analytics platform switch. And it's very difficult when you start thinking about a switch we have to make. We have to think about, okay, here's the old language. We are introducing a new language. How do we get customers aboard on the new language? And it was actually pretty intensive thought process and intensive discussions we had as we were going through this journey. One of the things we wanted to do was, hey, should we just get everybody flipped over at the same time and just have a preview running on a side-by-side, things like that. We talked about a lot of things there. But one thing we wanted to do was not wait to do everything, but also have a way to introduce a new language very easily to the users. So we wanted to introduce the new language early and easy so that people can use. They're familiar with the documentation. They get familiarized themselves with the the language itself to reduce the learning curve. And then as you go through the transition, we wanted to ensure continuity, right? This was the key, right? You want to have ample time. So, and I'll go through the roadmap later. Basically, we had started basically sometime in May as a private preview. And then we went through public preview in August. So giving ample time for the users to start ramping up. And then we also had a lot of auto upgrade capabilities. So basically, as you upgrade, we are able to provide, we're basically able to convert your old queries into the new queries almost seamlessly. I think it worked. We had done simulation runs. As you can see, we converted almost 99% as simulated when we simulated the stuff of conversion to say we were able to convert 99% or more of the workspaces without any issues. So that way, it's like very, very simple for users also to use. And of course, we continued to have feedback during the process, and which was key for us to reach where we are today. So now, let's get into kind of the demos. Okay. And I'll show you, first I'll show you kind of the upgrade experience there, and then we'll go into some of the helper tools and the language, and then we'll come back to the presentation also. So let's switch here. Again, a lot of hard work has gone into to make this experience so seamless. So this is kind of a test workspace that I have. I didn't have a lot of data in here, but you can see some of, this is the old platform that's there. You will see kind of the data here. I can go in here, kind of show you the data. It's just a language, so you know you're familiar with the old language here. So you can see this is the old language construct that's there. And it's an old workspace or legacy workspace, we're calling it. If you also go back, you have save searches that are there too, which are also part of all of the save searches, which are all basically, you can think about them as also written in the legacy language. So these are all the save searches that are there. So anybody going to here, go back to the workspace here, you will see a banner. You will see a banner that says, basically right now the banner says, don't wait for the automatic upgrades and start planning and learn more and upgrade now. So as soon as you click on the banner here, you get basically a button, tells you something about the new platform, and basically says upgrade now. And that's all you have to do. Once you upgraded, basically what it does, and behind the scenes, it goes ahead and converts all your queries and everything else into the new format. And now, voila, you have new language. You see, we didn't have this analytics button earlier. Now we have the analytics button. Your dashboards, everything continues to work as is. I can drill down the same way that I did before. And there you go. I can see this. Same kind of dashboard. I can click here. And now you see it's the new language. Oops. And also, we have a legacy language converter. And that's pretty cool for people to start ramping up. It's pretty cool that, hey, now you have this legacy language converter where you can start ramping up even if you didn't have previous experience. You can start typing. For example, I can just say type equals Azure activity measure count by, say, level. Okay? So I've typed this language in the old format here. I'm going to hit enter. As soon as I hit enter, as you can see, it converted to the new language also at the bottom. And of course, we don't run it automatically. We want you to click the button. So in this case, we just click the button and run the new construct in there. So now that's really powerful, right? So I think basically you have, with one button click, I did the upgrade. It upgraded everything, all your searches, all your alerts, all your computer groups, all the stuff that is there, all your dashboards, all your views, all of them have been upgraded to the new language. You didn't have to do anything else. Just one button click in this case. What do you guys think? It's pretty good, right? And just to make sure I'm not lying, I'll go back to here. I'll go to the saved searches right here. And you see these are the saved searches that were there with the old language. I mean, now it's with the new language. Let's see if it is. This is a saved search that's there. Click on that one, and then voila, it's with the new language. So a lot of intelligence went in and trying to figure out, okay, how do we convert everything in there? Of course, there will be some corner cases that we may not be able to, and that's why we have that 1% that we knew that there were some failures that are going to be there. So we wanted to make sure that people are aware and stuff like that, so it's there. So in this case, you don't see the results because it's last 1 day. I can make it last 7 days, and you should see the results in this case. And now, also, you see that now we have also this advanced analytics button, right? So you have this advanced analytics button also. And this advanced analytics today will take you to the analytics portal. If you're familiar with Application Insights Analytics, it takes you to the analytics portal. It's a very, very powerful way to explore your data. People ask me why it's not in Azure. This was the fastest way to get it. Of course, it'll come in Azure, but right now this was the fastest way for us to say, let's expose the capabilities that we have, fastest way to our customers, and then we'll start integrating and bringing the stuff back in Azure also. The other thing actually I wanted to point out was, and I will actually go into some of the powerful functions and stuff like that. You can type in all your queries here too, but I will actually show it you in Analytics Portal also. But before I go there, what I wanted to show you is actually the work that we have done also to, let's see if we get here. Yeah. We also launched a new site for really catering towards our the power of the language and the power that we had internally. We want to make sure that we also have externally. So you have this documentation which is very rich with tutorials, with examples, with the language. It's there, it's very rich, and I'll show you some of that. And actually, it's also helped try out some of the things. For example, I go to Learn. I can go to Tutorials, and you will see I have the tutorials here. And the different functions that are there, getting started is there. And I can go to here, for example, and it'll basically go over the Analytics Portal here. Now, the cool thing I want to show you is let's see here. So what you can do basically is, in every example we have there, you can see the Run Query button. You don't need a workspace to be created. You don't need anything else to be created. You just try it out yourself. You can run a query, and it'll try it out yourself. So that's very powerful to start learning your language. So let me show you with an example here on here, getting started with queries. Right here, Run Query. I'm going to just do Run Query here. And there is a, as you can see, there is a demo kind of a workspace that it goes to, and you can get the data right there in the demo workspace that's there. So this is a very powerful way for you to explore and learn the language without even actually upgrading the workspace in this case, or without even able to try to create a workspace in this space. You can actually experiment a lot. It has data from from OMS of our demo data. It's out there, which you can play with. There's no restrictions in this demo environment. Basically, you can run any type of query that we run. that you can run in your paid workspace, you can run it here. So it has examples also built in. So let me show you that. So some of the examples that are there. You can see the examples here. The Application Insights example, Log Analytics examples. I'm going to go and click. Lots of examples are there, right? So you can look at lots of examples that are there. So let's look at chart of the count per table per hour in this case. As you can see, same thing here. And you can run the query, and it'll be right there in the chart of table. I can change the chart to line. In this case, bar makes more sense, let's say. As you can see, the stack column in this case, more of the data is from Application Insights in this case. But anyway, the idea was to have these examples also be there for you to start learning the language. What we are going to do also is, and probably I need all of your help also, we're going to make this examples where people can upload your examples. And we want to start featuring these examples as part of our products, in-product experiences, so that people can actually say, hey, let's look at some of the examples that people are running, that people are actually contributing, which makes it really helpful in terms of really getting that community going. So we want to really get that community going externally also. So you definitely see more investments around this space, but there are tons of examples that are there that you can use to start learning your queries, start learning the different aspects of it. And we would welcome external contributions to this one also. Okay, so that was the basically a couple helper tools that we covered. I'll go back to the presentation here. Okay. So there are some FAQs and known issues we have posted on the website itself. So you can go into the details there, but I wanted to highlight some of them. The My Dashboard functionality that's there in OMS actually will become a read. Once you upgrade, it becomes read-only. And I think, how many of you attended the View Designer and that session yesterday, I think, was it? Any of you attended that? Okay, one few. But basically, people are encouraged to use View Designer and Azure Dashboard. My Dashboard is going away, as well as the OMS portal is being actually moving everything to Azure as such. So everything which is there in OMS portal now is available in Azure, except for alerts, which is actually in private preview, and I'll show you that also. Search API. How many of you use Search APIs here? The Log Search API. Okay, not that many. But the Log Search API that is there today will be replaced by it's much more flexible and powerful API for the Log Analytics API that's there. So, we start planning to migrate your search APIs by end of the year to use the new API. We will be deprecating that as we move to the new platform. Power BI integration. There are lots of limits. We have heard when we started with this stuff, there are a lot of limits in the Power BI integration that's there today in OMS. We are replacing with much more powerful Power BI desktop integration that's there with App Insights. It's the same type of integration we're going to do with OMS. So I'll show you actually in our demos. But it is much more flexible, much more powerful. You can then publish it to powerbi.com the same way and share the content across. So it's a much richer set of visualizations also, I should say. So it's being replaced there. And the other change which is there, this is a breaking change that was there, and there are not that many users using it, but there are alerts using webhooks and runbooks. We had to change the format because the response format. The main reason was that as we are upgrading the new language, the new API, the response format was different. And rather than sticking to the old format, we wanted to make sure that everybody moves to the new format as soon as possible. So that's the other thing I want to call out. There are other known issues or details, FAQs are there that we have posted that as we go forward. I think we may have to update that, but I think we have captured most of it during the time we had in public preview. So I think all of these are captured there. Feedback has been tremendously positive. I can tell you that during private preview, we actually said, do not, in bold letters, we said, do not upgrade your production workspace. But people said, I didn't have an option. They wanted to get update. People said basically, hey, I wanted this new capability. It's only available in the new language. And they did upgrade. We did support them. Actually, we were successful in large customers actually who went through this process, including like our MSIT. As you can see, the feedback from MSIT here, it's basically the new query language is awesome, and basically lightning fast is basically the light years ahead of what we have before. And this has been reflective of anybody else who is using the platform and taking advantage of the capability. Another example here, basically the upgrade experience was seamless, right? Another quote you see from Wizards of the Coast. They were actually an App Insights users. They started with App Insights, and they were always asking, hey, when is OMS coming and going to use the new language also? And once we launched that stuff, they were like, immediately went in there without us saying, hey, it's still not production, it's private preview, we're still working through it. They said, no, we want it, right? So people started adopting it very fast in this case. So we had about 200 plus workspaces which were upgraded in private preview. And we're very, very positive response there from our customers so far. So what's new and improved? And we'll go through all of this in the demos too. But let me talk through a couple of these things. So one is the powerful query language. I talked about that. You have now search time field extractions. You have calculated columns that you can do. You can do correlation across your solutions. You can join the data across your solutions. Actually, I should update the slide here to say now you can join data across your workspaces. And I'll show you that also. There are rich date and string and date and time functions and operators in there. The other aspect is basically the advanced operators. As you start looking at some of the advanced operators, you'll immediately recognize the power that it brings to the table. In this case, the time series analysis that you can do with hundreds of time series that are there. Try to figure out the top time series and top functions there. Or ML, machine learning operators, we'll show you a couple of those, like machine learning operators like auto clustering or diff patterns, as it calls sometimes. There are set operations that are there, and I'll show you some of that too, like make set or make list on how you operate on sets. The analytics portal itself is very, very powerful in terms of the tool itself, right? I call it a query canvas, where you treat query as your code, and you think about when you're writing your queries, you have IntelliSense, multi-line editing, and then also it provides you rich visualization. It provides you click to diagnose functionality. I'll show you some of that also in there. And then we have also the rich set of kind of dashboards and views that you can create. Whether it's Azure dashboards, you can pin directly your queries from Analytics Portal to the Azure dashboards. You can also export it to Power BI. There's actually View Designer, and there is also now integration with Logic Apps. Actually, I will show you that also, integration with Logic Apps. A lot more there to show. So rather than me talk about it, let me show you some of this in action. Okay. So I have another workspace which has been upgraded, which is the Contoso Retail IT. I have upgraded this workspace, has more data in there. But as you can see, the workspace, oops, I didn't switch. This would help. As you can see, this is upgraded, has much more data in it, has all the solutions that are there. They're all working in there, so you can see all that here. So, and what I will do here is, in this case, also you can go through the analytics portal right from here, or you can also click in any of these tiles, and then it'll work the same way that it works before. It brings your View Designer views, And then you can click into the log search view, and then you can click into the analytics also if you wanted to from that perspective. So it's there. It's the same way. So to just show some of the advanced functions, what I'm going to do, actually, let me first make sure that one thing I do want to show you that is in this case that if your log search page today also continues to work as is with the functionality that you have. So basically, you can continue to use all the other stuff that you were using before in terms of clicking here, for example, and it'll continue to work as is with the functionality that you have. So all that continues to work as is, so you don't have to worry about that. And I'll show you Power BI and other things as I go through the advanced analytics because it's available in both places there. Okay. Let's click on to advanced analytics. So you can click on to advanced analytics. It just shows you, and it opens up advanced analytics portal with the query that was there selected. It just opens up that portal and runs that query for you in this case. Okay. So I will actually open up queries that I have saved here. You can, of course, use the saved queries that's there. And show you some of the basic things, and then we go into the advanced stuff as I progress, right? So very basic in this aspect is, let me just show you first. As soon as you hit, so one of the things as you see now is you have workspace, and I'll go into that detail there. But other things you see is basically the tables, right? Now you instantly know the types of data that you have. So it's not a mystery. It kind of tries to project the data that you have, so it makes it easier for you to think about the queries and things like that too. And you can also do a search too. So for example, if you don't know the data. So in this case, let's think about this as a security event. So as soon as I start typing, as you can see, it narrows the stuff down. And it tells you, in context, it tells you kind of what is there. So the IntelliSense is very, very powerful. So as you can see that it tells you in context of the table. Let me show you that also. So it says take 100. So now when I do where, right? So now in context, it'll show you what you can do with where, right? So after where, basically it's a field name that you can put. So it puts all the field name for your table that's there. And let's do, say, time generated. As soon as I do time generated, it'll give me again what I can do with time generated here, and say greater than equal to, and you see, oops. Then you can see functions that are there, right? Where you can have a go, between, date and time, the functions that are there. So it's again powerful set of functions that are there. So let's do a go. And this is also very interesting, right? You can just use literals like a go 1 hour, 1H, 2H, 1D, 2D, 3D. So it's basically very easy. So it's a time span field that we have, a type that you can use. So I'm going to just do, say, a go 1 hour and count. So you just count there, and then it gives you the count of the records that are there. Go 1 hour, right? Okay. So that's kind of the basic kind of the IntelliSense to try to start getting going. So now let's get into a little bit of the what I was saying is, what if I don't know the table name, right? So in this case, I can actually use the search command. I have search command that search across all fields, all tables. You don't have to know the table names there. So I can just search there and type in the search command. Same thing. I will get the results. Same thing that you see in OMS portal or log search page, you will see the same thing here where you get the results in this case. Okay? It doesn't show you, I think my zoom it, when it zoom it kind of freezes the screen at that time, so it doesn't show you the results coming in there. So that's why you see that. But again, it's just very simple. You can do that. And search is actually very powerful, much more powerful than you had earlier too. So basically, you can now search case insensitive, case sensitive. You can do term search. You can do substring search. You can do a particular field search if you wanted to, so you can do all kinds of combinations you wanted to do for searches too. So I'm not going to go through all of that, but it's very, very powerful there. I'll just show you here the case insensitive, because there were sometimes a lot of questions around case insensitivity. Can I do case insensitive? And first people asked was, is the language case insensitive? But when I dig into the question, actual question was really that, hey, can I actually search case insensitive terms, right? So that was the other aspect that was there. So in this case, absolutely you can by the field or that's there. So you can see that I have put in a lowercase here, but you get the source system as a mixed case, right? So you can do case insensitive search also. Other powerful thing we have is actually parse. So we have a number of ways you can parse your data. I'm not going to go through all of them. We have parse, we have extract, we have split. We have a number of ways you can parse your data in different ways. I will show you one or two examples here. So that kind of gives you the power in there. What I'm doing is basically project is nothing but selecting a particular field and projecting that. So basically just showing you that field. So I'll just show you what it does. As you can see, activity field has activity ID and description, and basically I broke that field up into two fields now, which is activity ID and activity description. It was just one field. I broke it into two fields easily using the parse statement. The parse statement, with that parse statement, you can also use regex. In this case, it was a simple parse where I did the parse with the separation of, I guess, a dash, and then I split them into two. Now, when I created this new column called activity ID and activity description, I can now actually use the same column in aggregation. So I'll show you an example here. So here, I'm actually creating the new column, but I'm also using it as part of the aggregation here. Again, it basically freezes. You see that here. So I didn't have to create a new index or anything like that. As soon as I create a new column, I can use it the way I want. It's just like a native column. And this is very, very powerful because not every time when you have telemetry coming into your system, you actually have a kind of a knowledge of the first class column or things that you may want to create. You may just pass it as part of the string. So you want to be able to extract that and then do some aggregations around it, telemetry around it. So I think this is very, very powerful here. Now, the other things that I'll start getting into is looking at some advanced functions in here. So as you can see, one of the things I do wanted to call out is, I'm not selecting a query. As soon as I place a cursor in the anywhere in the query, it kind of executes the query. So that way it actually tells you that the context of the query, it just separates by the new line in here. So we also have another very powerful construct. It's called the lambda functions or functions, and I'll show you functions actually also. But this is basically with the let statement. The other thing, have you noticed that I have comments in my queries? So it allows you to actually now annotate your queries with comments, which makes it even more powerful as you are sharing your queries with your colleagues. As people are using your queries, they understand what you're trying to do in this case also. And we also have these let statements that they allows you to kind of modularize your queries. It's very, very powerful from that perspective to say, hey, now I can actually now make a modular function from a query perspective and then reuse that in part of my queries. So in this case, I looked at the computers that were missing updates in last 3 or 2 days, and then are they still missing update or not? The scenario is generally if there are updates missing last week, and are they still missing update or not? Let's just modify the query to 7 days, I think, and then run the query. And then the other thing I had in the query was, as you can see, as a make set. What make set did is basically create a set of computers. It's nothing but a unique. It's a unique list, I would say. So basically, it's a list of computers that are there, but unique computers that are there. So from the last week, and then looked at whether the computers were still missing updates this week. The same computers in this case. all of this was not possible earlier. Another example here is the same example where I'm looking at the detections. The same thing in this case, I'm looking at whether the computers who had security detection errors or whether they still have the failed logons or not in this case. So let me show you another one in aspects of joins. So before I run this query, I'm going to say here, all kinds of joins available, right? Anti, inner unique, full outer, left outer, right outer, left anti. So you can have all kinds of functionality that's there, powerful functionality that's there, can go over millions of records that's there, that's available in this case. And you can use the power of that joins and language to go across your data set. So in this case, what I'm doing is basically I am actually looking at all the list of computers that were missing updates. Now, all list of computers that were missing updates and also had detected high security detections. As you can see, they were missing updates, but they also had high security alert, right? This is kind of a red flag from a perspective of a scenario to say, hey, if computers are missing updates, they're actually generating these alerts, that's not good because they should be patched immediately. And it tells you the list of updates that were missing and also the list of alerts that were fired. In this case, the suspicious activity alert that was fired in this case, right? So very powerful capabilities with the joins you can see. Now you can do scenarios that were not possible before, whether it's you're relating your stuff from security events to updates or from change tracking to security. So you can think about relating data from different sources very easily now. Okay, so that's basically goes into, I'll show you one more of search time extractions field that's there. So that covers kind of some of the earlier functions that were there. Let's just show here, and very simply I will do here. Okay, and I'll show you what I'm doing. Very simply, what I did was I created a column called SLA breached, which is based on if the time taken was greater than 10,000. I just said, okay, count the number of records that were greater than 10,000. If it's SLA met, then I've looked at the time taken less than 10,000, right? And then I've created an SLA index, and then I'm just tracking that index from that perspective. As you can see, I just created the SLA index, was 99, and then some places I dipped my SLA here, as you can see here. And I can easily now pin this chart to an Azure dashboard. So I can pin this chart to an Azure dashboard. Basically what it does is tries to get all the shared dashboards that are there, and then I can pin the chart to an Azure dashboard here, for example. Let's just look at the one that I have. Oh, missed demo. So basically it does pin the chart to the Azure dashboard, then you can go to the Azure dashboard and see the chart there too. So, okay, I'm not going to go there right now, but believe me, that's there. Okay. Let's talk about some of the advanced operators here. So a couple things actually I want to share with you is which is actually very powerful, is the lookup tables. So we have heard many times, hey, how can I have a lookup table? And now it's actually possible to have a lookup table in there. How do we do that lookup table? So as you can see, we have something called functions. I can actually have a function that is saved. In this case, what I've done is I've created a lookup table called MS malicious IPs. I just have 1 or 2 IPs in there, just put in there, but I look up, I'll show you what I mean. So I just have malicious IPs, for example. Let's say malicious IP lookup. If I just run that, you will see I just have 2 things in there. but it's actually not not a physical table, but it's actually just a lookup table that I created from the data source that I had. And now I can use that anywhere else. So let me just actually show you a little bit here. I can actually create any query and use that as a saved function. So for example, let's just look at a query that's there. Okay, I'm going to use a query which is so I'm going to basically make this query as a function if I want to. I can just save here. I can just click save here and save query. And you can see I'm going to do function. I'm going to say query as saying SLA query, SLA, and SLA function. So now it's saved as a function as an alias. So now I can use that query anywhere I want if you wanted to use that query anywhere. So this is the way I created a lookup table using a data table. There's another function that's there. Oh. What went wrong here? Oh, I'm not sure what went wrong here, but I did create a function just earlier, which is malicious IP lookup. So anyway, we'll get back to that one later. But it's very easy to just create a function that way, and then basically the functions will show up here. As you can see, I have two functions that I've created: malicious IP lookup and the account failed to log in lookup there. So you can now use those functions as a very, very powerful from that perspective. So that kind of shows you some of the power of the language itself. It's very, very powerful, as you can see. Now let's look at some of the other integrations that we have, which is also very useful. So first one I'll show you is the Power BI integration. Okay, I'm going to open up the Power BI desktop. So with Power BI, what we can do is basically you can write a query, and then you can export the query. So in this case, I have a query on wire data. It just shows you the country, and then shows you duration and total bytes, basically in and out, coming out of that country in this case. So wire data solution provides that. You can also do it by IP, latitude and longitude also. But what we have to do is basically export this Power BI query. And what it does is actually creates a simple M language script. It's a simple M language script. You don't have to worry about the details in there. All you do is copy it, and then you go to your Power BI, you do get data, and then go to other, go to blank query. Okay, I'm going to go quickly here and show you. All you do is just paste that into a blank query, and done, and then you get your data in Power BI right here. If I close and apply, the query will be available here for visualization. And again, if you look at my query here, I have actually given a relative time frame, right? Time generated greater than ago 7 days, a relative time frame. So this is where the Power BI refreshes, it always gets the current data. So very simply now I have Power BI, so I can say, okay, where is the data going in and out from around the world? You can get that data here. You can say how much data is going in and out around the world. You can see that here. And now you can see, okay, what direction the data is going around the world right here, in or out, right? So you can see that pretty powerful from an integration perspective, right? You can now publish this Power BI to powerbi.com and share it accordingly to your users in there. So very powerful. What do you guys think? Pretty good? And now, actually, another integration, similar. The other thing that people have asked is, hey, you know, I need these reports emailed to me. I need these reports emailed to me. How can I do that? And many times, say, we don't have an answer. But in this case, we also said we have a logic app integration. Let's see if I can bring up that one. Okay, this is the dashboard as you see, it's there. Let me look at the logic apps. Okay, let's look at logic apps. Apologize, I had to redo all of these. So now, basically, you can think about a logic app. If you're familiar with logic apps, anybody have used logic apps? Microsoft Flow? Okay, some. It's basically your if then that, right? So basically, you have your logic app designer. Very simply, you can have rich set of actions that are there available already in logic apps. Number of triggers that are available. You can connect to almost any other data source that's there. As you can see, I did a recurrence activity here. Because you can see, I did a recurrence activity here. And I am running a simple query here. As you can see, I'm running a simple query here. I can cut and paste my Custo query right here. And I'm going to render that as a pie chart. And then send an email. Very simply, I can do that. In this case, it does daily. I can run it right now, and basically, it'll run the thing, and I should get an email. Actually, let's see. I open up Outlook. So the run was successful. There you go. Maybe I should do Outlook, huh? But you can see the run was successful, and I also got the report. So very simply, now you can actually use logic apps to do all kinds of stuff in there. So very simply, in this case, you can see that now with logic apps, it's possible to kind of extend your data integrations to different places very easily. You can run different queries, any type of queries it supports all types of queries, so there's no issues there. Close. As you can see, there I get the results right here. Right? So very simply, you can get your results in the email or email to you also. The other thing actually I wanted to show you is that actually we also introduced another cool connector, which I think was partly shown yesterday, but I want to show you a little more detail around it. So what I'm going to show you is basically you can think about a perspective of here you have a logic app. Logic app is there. I'm running a query. Many times you want your data to be aggregated, right? So for example, you want to keep your performance data for a longer period of time, but you don't want to keep the raw data. Maybe you want to aggregate every hour, hourly aggregates and things like that, and you want to aggregate the data and put that data into an aggregated table. So I'm using a logic app. Right now, we're using data from App Insights, usage data from App Insights, so page view data from App Insights. I'm going to run a query which aggregates its daily data to say page view count by country, by browser, every day, and then put that into custom logs in OMS. Okay? So it's pretty powerful. So here I'm running this query, which is basically telling me, very simply, I'm looking at this query, where it's page view count by browser and city and country. And then I'm going to send this data, as you can see here, to OMS. It's going to send this data to OMS. So I'll show you exactly what that connector is, but this connector is, again, connected to Contoso Retail IT, as you can see here. So it's called Azure Log Analytics Connector. I will run this query right now. Or actually, the query is already run, so it's actually does daily. So I will show you kind of the data that's there. Okay, last 7 days. So the data comes back up here, which is Edge browser, Orlando, city, country, United States, the page view count that's there for that particular data. So as you can see that it creates that, it creates an aggregated table that's actually now there for you to use. So this actually is very powerful. So now you can actually, let me just make sure I'm in the right place. So this is actually very powerful that now you can actually use your logic apps to create this data set, to create this data and actually send it back if you wanted to from an aggregation perspective. So it's very, very powerful integration that's there. And before I run out of time, I want to make sure I also show you one more thing, which is how many people actually have multiple workspaces? Okay. Wow, okay, quite a few actually. And do you have need for querying across workspaces? Okay. So we actually released earlier this week, which was querying across workspaces, which is actually very powerful. And I will show you very simple. It's very simple. Let's see if I have that in here, cross workspace. So it's very simple in this case. You can union, you can join, you can just treat any data across coming from different workspaces the same way. In this case, as you can see, actually, I have union, I'm saying workspace, Contoso Retail IT, and I have another one called ADM Demo Workspace. I'm looking at the security event across those, and then I want to just count them by workspace name. So, and the other thing actually is there, as you can see here, is this is my active workspace that I'm using, so I don't have to provide the workspace name, but I did. And then I actually have favorites also there, so I can, because now I'm be able to query multiple workspaces, I want to see a set of favorites that I can quickly switch between the two if I'm using multiple workspaces there too. So you can see that.
Sorry, you did cross-tenant as well, or just cross-workspace?
Sorry, what was the question?
Is it cross-tenant as well?
Not cross-tenant, not cross-tenant. I have heard that from MSPs on this one, whether it's cross-tenant or not. This is cross-workspace. Cross-tenant, I think, is something that we need to think about because it requires a lot more from an authentication and authorization perspective. It's a lot more tougher. And we need to think about how do we provide that cross-tenant if we need to provide cross-tenant. Say it again. Cross-subscription. Cross-subscription is possible because workspace could be in any other subscription, right? So your workspace is in this subscription or the other subscription doesn't really matter. In this case, we look at the workspace from a container perspective, so it doesn't matter which subscription it lives in, as long as it's in the same tenant in there, okay? But this is actually very powerful, so you can read about in the blog also, that's there. Very, very powerful. Let me actually go into one more demo I wanted to do, whether if you have time. Actually, let me switch to because I do want to cover the couple things in the slide before I go, so before we kind of run out of time. So let's just do that. But I think there were powerful set of demos. The queries that we're not able to do today, you're able to, not able to do yesterday, you're able to do today. The rich set of capabilities that we provide, just to recap, is really will allow you to take your analytics to a new level, right? You need to think about the solutions and stuff that you're building is actually to incorporate into the power that's provided by the query. And I can't tell you enough that the adoption at Microsoft is tremendous in terms of the advantage they're taking with the power that's coming with the language. We ingest more than 100 petabytes of data now. Every day we ingest more than 3.5 petabytes of data. And now we have total queryable data size is about more than 100 petabytes. So it's tremendous growth that we had inside, and I think we'll have tremendous growth outside. I definitely want you guys to take advantage of it. If you have not upgraded your workspace, upgrade now, I would say. Don't wait for automatic upgrades. We will do automatic upgrades later this year. And there, so I definitely want you to take advantage of it. Kind of the road to GA. So June 1st, when we launched private preview, it was invitation only. We had available only in 3 regions. We quickly went out to all public regions. In August 8th, we have public preview, which is optional upgrade, which is there. So late October, basically the last week of October, so we will have a blog that details out some of the schedules there. But late October, we will actually start pushing out automatic upgrades to all. And the beauty of this is that, in public preview already, we basically have 50% of the workspace is already upgraded. That's tremendous, actually. That's very, very, it actually tells us that our customers want this feature, right, without us trying to push it as far. But we can only upgrade for the people who are actually logged into the portal and see the banner, right? So people who don't log into the portal and don't see the banner, we cannot do that. So we have to do automatic upgrades for everybody else also. So we encourage for folks who are actually not upgraded, upgrade now, and then we will make sure that all the automatic upgrades that happen towards the end of the year, we will be rolling out region by region. But it should be, as we start in late October, we'll start collecting feedback as we roll out the automatic upgrades. So that's what our road to GA is. And I think I'm very excited to get everybody onto your new platform so that we can actually make more enhancements, more features available to you quickly as we move on to the new platform. Not that it's relevant for you to attend today, but it's relevant for you to make sure that you can go back and say, hey, all the relevant sessions for Azure Security and Management, you want to be able to have in one place. The demos are available. The decks are available. You can always browse through those things later in this case. And I wanted to leave some things for questions here. I know that's a lot we covered. So I wanted to make sure that you fill out the survey. I hope this was a useful session. I encourage you to go ahead and try and upgrade and try the new platform. And please fill out, I guess, the evaluations. And I'm open up we have 5 minutes or 4 minutes for questions. So if you have questions, please. Okay, good question. Actually, it's called docs.loganalytics.io. I'll make sure that it's part of the deck. Any other questions? Yeah?
With the move over to the Azure portal, will there be a new app? So we've currently got an app, iOS app for OMS.
Uh-huh.
Is there going to be any update to the Azure app that's going to bring that?
Well, I think the iOS app will be continued to support it. It doesn't have to do with the Azure portal. The iOS app goes directly against the backend, so it's supported as such.
It's a better experience than the app for customers.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
You mentioned the Application Insights connector. How does that really work? Because Application Insights is very much about you have one application you have, and you might want to put that into like lots of applications into one workspace for log analytics.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do that with the connector?
So the connector, you can do that absolutely today, but I think the need for the connector will go away soon, because we will be able to actually query from the workspace itself. We'll be able to query any application. So just like I did workspace, in quotes, workspace name, I could say app, in quote, app name. So that would be cross-app, cross-workspace query. So basically the need for the connector kind of goes away, and you have the rich set of capabilities. Connector already had a lot of limitations. It kind of flattened some of the columns because the old platform didn't support it, and didn't have all the columns in there. So now you can actually query directly in there if you wanted to for any applications.
Thank you.
Yes?
What's the direction of the product stack? Because you've got Security Center, you've got Log Analytics, OMS.
So first of all, OMS this is the same thing. OMS and Log Analytics, we're just calling it Azure Log Analytics, is the same thing. Security Center uses the same platform as Log Analytics. So when you dig into Security Center, when you go down your detections and stuff like that, and when you go and click through, it's basically this is what it brings. It's the same platform. So the underlying platform is the same. You have Security Center as a solution that's built on the top of the Log Analytics platform. Just like App Insights built another solution on top of that one there. So is it good? You guys liked it overall? Okay. Thank you, guys.